Awesome. So welcome. This is the real estate perspective. This is part one of the real estate perspective. It's a two-part class, okay, and they are both built around two concepts that we will go over. Now, this is the introductory class to the Momentum series. That's what it's intended to do, okay, because we're going to be asking you guys, before we get into any kind of open house boot camp and any kind of specific real estate trainings, this is more of a business class. And we're going to be asking you guys to change three things as we go into this class. And we're not saying you do anything wrong by saying change three things. It's simply improving in three ways, basically. We're going to ask you to, first off, change the way you think, right? Because changing the way your mindset is going to help you in the right direction. Then we're going to ask you to change your behaviors, right? And when you're changing the way you think, you can change your behavior that much easier. Doesn't that make sense? And the third thing we're asking you to change is your relationships. You have to have the right people in the right places. And when you do those three things, you're going to be able to grow your business to the highest level that really you desire to bring it to. So we're starting with changing mindsets, and that's why this is called the Real Estate Perspective class. Okay? Now this is just the introduction. We have 13 classes that support your business plan, and that's the ultimate goal here, is to understand what goes into why we're making and what the purpose of our business plan is. And that's what we're going to hope to accomplish by the end of this. There will be a homework assignment today. It's not very taxing, but it's more or less, I want you to start thinking about some things. We'll get to that at the end, okay? So let's just jump in. So I mentioned this class is built around two concepts. Those are what we call irrefutable facts. What's an irrefutable fact, Marco?
Something that cannot be challenged or considered invalid.
Correct. So with that, we're starting with real estate sales is a get-rich business. Right? Suzanne, you agree with that, right?
Yeah.
It's a get-rich business. Now, there's a common American phrase here that this kind of sounds like, but there's a word missing. What is that?
Quick.
Quick. Doesn't say get rich quick, Barbara. Right? It's a get-rich business, which means your earning potential is unlimited. In fact, we believe it's a get-wealthy business, and there is a difference between rich and wealthy. But you have to do things the right way, year after year after year, ladder rung after ladder rung after ladder rung. Otherwise, this whole thing can come crumbling down. And it's not a get-rich quick business. So there's a positive here. You can make as much money as you desire to make. There's also a negative here, because it's going to take a lot of hard work, right? Okay, so that's what the first concept that we're building this class around is. So the first page is really what it says at the top of the page, read, underline, share. So what I want you to do is take a moment, 2 minutes maybe, read this page, underline anything that you think is important, anything you disagree with, anything that stands out to you that you'd like to discuss, and when you're done we will have a quick discussion around it. Sorry for those watching at home, this is quiet time. When you're done, pencils down, heads up. Become a third grade teacher when I teach these classes. Setting the mood. Are we good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so one of the reasons I love teaching teaching this class, and by the way, all our momentum classes are meant to be taught over and over and over again. You're supposed to come to them over and over again because you're going to learn something new each time, and that's one of the best things about this is we usually have a different discussion every time that we do this. So the first thing I want to say is let's just look at the red at the top. See, what's in red on every page is the main concept and the most important point of every page. And so here it's when face to face with your own mortality. You're going to undoubtedly say one of two things: I'm glad I did, or I wish I had. Right? And we all know that when you're on your deathbed, some people are very proud of the life they lived, and others have what's the word I'm looking for? Regrets, right? And do we want regrets? Well, we're going to take that to the daily level. Every day you should be doing something that you have a plan and a purpose to do, and so that you can have I'm glad I did days. I'm glad I did minutes versus I wish I had. Okay? Mm-hmm. And so, what's the first thing, Barbara, that stood out to you about reading this? What's one thing you underlined?
I did not underline anything.
Okay, so with any points stand out to you?
No, it all makes perfect sense.
It all makes perfect sense. Okay, so what one thing excited you about this then?
That I pretty much know it. I have to work hard to be good.
Okay. Well, I saw you underlining some things.
Well, and this goes back to when I started 10, 11 years ago, and it was right in the midst of the crash in 2007. I don't think I've ever worked as hard as I did back then to make absolutely no money.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it says here, real estate agents can work 80 hours per week and earn absolutely nothing, that was me, I'm proof of that. How? By not having a clear direction and succumbing to the illusion that busy work and productive work are one and the same.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, I am living proof of that.
Okay.
You can spend a lot of money on activities that you think are going to get you somewhere, but unless you have focus, a plan, and most importantly, a direction or a game plan, you're really just spinning your wheels like that proverbial lab rat in the cage and in the wheel. You're tiring yourself out, but you're really not getting anywhere.
Fantastic, because that's what we hope to give you guys, is a plan. That's what the business plan is. It's a set of activities that when carried out, you have an expectation that you will succeed and reach the goals that you will set for yourself. And this is also, as you know, Marco, you're in a testament to that, is most real estate agents get into this career because of the earning potential. Remember, irrefutable fact number one. And because they can set their own hours and they think it's more flexible and there's more freedom around it. And a lot of those people, and by the way, all those things are true, but a lot of those people have a misconception about what that means. They think it's going to be easy. Yeah. Right? They think that they can have their weekends, or they can go to the beach on Tuesday, and you might be able to go to the beach on a Tuesday, but you're going to be working your butt off on Saturday and Sunday, and you're going to probably work more hours. And furthermore, just working isn't enough. You have to be doing the things that are going to put money in your pocket. And we're going to learn here that there are a lot of activities in this business that may even need to be done, but they just don't need to be done now. Right? And you're not doing the things that should be done right now, or will be more apt to put money in your pocket, because the other stuff's a little easier to do. And so we're going to kind of shy you away from that. That's why this is less a real estate class, more a business class, to show you the activities that are going to be important to getting you in the right path and to making money as quickly as possible. Suzanne, did anything else stand out to you here?
Yes, I think that the biggest problem after being in the business 30 years and going through a training and dealing with a lot of agents is I don't think that people have a clear enough why. And I think that my why, the reason why I succeed, I don't care what I would do in this business, is because we have a very clear why. Laura has a very clear why. So I think until you get your dream board and clarify, what's important to you and what you want your life to look like. One thing I've always done is Mike Ferry, so I always had 5-year goals, 10-year goals, 1-year goals. I think that it's going to be very hard because you'll be in that non-productive busyness that you won't get anything accomplished.
Absolutely. That's fantastic, and that's what we hope to give you here, is to clarify what your why is, your goals. When we ask you what your goals are, you're going to give me a number. That's not good enough. We need to know why that number is important to you, so that if you don't reach that number, you don't get to go on that vacation, or you don't get to eat that week, or you don't get to pay, something is unacceptable to you. That's what we're going to try to get at. We're trying to establish your why. Now, Suzanne uses a vision board. Mike Ferry taught her to do goals. You will find any real estate coach or even life coach that you meet is going to tell you to do the exact same thing, and they may say it in a different way depending on what book you read. The company yesterday just handed out that book called Good to Great. You read that book, you're going to get a different concept with the same idea. There's a book called The Secret. It's all about the same thing, right? All of these Darren Hardy's books, they're all the same. The Compound Effect, they're all the same, giving you the same message. It's just which way do you want to do it? Well, that's what we're going to help you do here. So yeah, your why is so important because it's what makes you motivated. It's what makes you get up in the morning and do these things, because there isn't a profession on this earth that is just amazingly fun things to do all the time. If you want to be good at anything, you got to do stuff that you're not going to really want to do. Okay? Let me see if there's anything else I really want to touch on before we move forward. Yeah, so for me, I like on the bottom here, first of all, you want to be moving towards productive and staying away from busy. Okay? This is important because even really good real estate agents fail to do this. Okay? And we might even have somebody, and don't tell her I don't want to be mad at me. I used to use Linda for this, but I'm going to use Laura for this. Laura could probably make even more money.
I agree.
If she could stay away from busy and more towards productive. And again, she's amazing at what she does, but it's not perfected. It's kind of organized chaos, and the best real estate agents out there do that because they just know what to do and they do the right things and they get results and they're good at what they do. But if she was maybe a little bit more organized or maybe a little bit more planned out, or she had help, she was able to leverage herself out, there's ways to get better. That's all I'm saying. So at any level, amazingly, incredibly, even at the beginning, but at any level, you can do more. And you have to stay away from busy and concentrate on productive. And I promise you the busy work is the more fun work. We can play on Facebook all day kidding ourselves that we're reaching out to people, right? And putting up ads and stuff like that. But is that productive or is that busy? Now, some agent out there is going to tell you that they're productive doing that. Okay, just make sure you are and you're not one of the ones who are just wasting your time, because for every one of those, there's 100 that are just wasting time, okay? And then the last thing is, really, it's up to you. And see, for me, that's one thing I've learned along the way, okay? If something happened that wasn't what you wanted it to be, the only person that you can blame is who, Suzanne?
Yourself.
Yourself, okay? My friends didn't want to use me to buy real estate. They knew I was a realtor. I mentioned it, I put it on Facebook. I never actually called them and said, hey, you're using me, right? I've been really awesome at this and I'd really like to help. Never did that. And then I'm offended that they didn't use me? That's my fault.
Exactly. Stop blaming.
And that's just one example, okay? But that's what I want you to understand is that it's up to you, okay? You've got to put the vital actions in. You've got to put yourself in the right direction. We are here to help support that, but after you leave here today, right? Same thing, you go to a Tony Robbins class and everybody in there, 5,000 people, super excited, right? And when you leave that class, by the end of the day, how many of those 5,000 people are following anything? Probably 4, right? But that's the point. They still do that and they still charge people and people still come because that's what the point we're trying to make is you got to do these things, okay? So let's move on from this page. Very simple question at the top of this page, why work? So it does have a very simple answer. Who can give me that answer? Why work? Barbara, why work?
To make money.
Silly, right? Ridiculous answer. You hit it on the head word for word. To make money. Write it down. The only reason we work is to make money. Nobody works because they like it. Anybody who says that probably has a hobby that they make money on.
I think a lot of people work. Actually, you meet more and more people that actually like it. Well,
I don't
some
think you
people
would do it if you didn't have to.
Well, I really.
I don't think any of those people would work if they absolutely didn't have to.
You just don't grow. I mean, look at Donald Trump. He doesn't have to work. He works now harder than ever because he's, went to be the president. People have different motivations.
But if you asked him why work, he would probably still say to make money.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
but he's working, making no money right now, so.
He's
harder than ever.
We're not getting into that conversation, but what he's doing now is for the after presidency. That's what he's setting up right now, and that's to make money.
That's true.
Okay, so this is the diagram. It's called the work-life diagram. If you've ever read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's where this comes from. again, we're not teaching you really anything that's new or novel. They had a book come out in 1924 called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and every concept in that book is the same exact to today. And so this is not new stuff, right? We're just kind of pushing it towards you in this direction. So what you have each and every day is 24 hours, right? You can't get more than 24 hours, right? So let's examine what goes into your day, every day that you have. You have things that do with you, right, Marco? Whether it's going to church, working out, going to the movies, things you do for fun, right? That's the stuff you do for yourself, right? So you got the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and the emotional, right? Then you have the relationships that you have, and this takes up time out of your day, don't they? So you have your kids, you have your spouse, family and friends, and that all takes up time, and we would love to spend every day, right, doing fun things with people we love, wouldn't we? The problem with that is you need time and money, don't you?
Absolutely.
If you had all the time in the world and absolutely no money, you would hate that time that you have because you'd be doing nothing with it. If you had all the money in the world and absolutely no time, and there are real estate agents who fall into that category, that wouldn't be so great either. Right? At some point you get burnt out and you realize, what am I really doing this for? So what we're looking for is a nice balance of those things. Now, we only have 24 hours, and notice there's a whole other category over here, right? And that's finances. Also notice there's a line dividing it. It's not just there because they made a mistake or because the words happen to be underneath, right? It's there for a very specific reason, and that's because you can't get this stuff without the finances, right? Now the finances take your time, but it also gives you the money. That's why we want a nice balance. So inside of the finances, and we're going to go into that in a little greater detail, but right now I just want to see if anybody knows what the little letters inside finances stand for.
I assume I stands for income? No?
No. I stands for investments. Maybe that'll clue you into what the other one stands for.
Business, yes.
B is business owner.
Earned income and,
E is employee.
employee, okay.
And SE is self-employed.
Self-employed,
Okay.
got it.
So with that said, where do you think most real estate agents fall?
Employee.
Well, you know they're not employees. You hire them
I
every
know.
day.
And they think they're
It's an
employees
independent
not
contractor,
working.
yeah.
Self-employed.
Self-employed.
Yeah, they do.
Do you think there are realtors who have businesses?
Well,
Now.
Of course there
Well,
are.
there are some that have them, but most of them don't.
Well, in our area, most of them don't. That's true. But there are a handful that do. And there
Are you
is...
talking about businesses outside of what they do?
Well, here, let me ask you a question. What would be the difference? You can have a real estate... Marco, your real... Let's call it the... What do you call your team? Do you have a name?
Mellow Group.
Mellow Group. Perfect.
There you go.
The Mellow Group. Are you self-employed or is that a business? And what's the difference?
I'm in the process of turning myself from self-employed into a business
Beautiful.
entity, or to look at my business activities as part of a whole business.
Now let me ask you a question, Marco.
Yes.
You take a 6-month vacation, what happens to the Mellow Group?
Right now, I won't take a 6-month vacation. I won't even take a 6-week vacation because by the time I got back, there would be no Mellow Group.
That's the point. That's self-employed. A business can run with or without you. Okay? In fact, some people can say it runs smoother without you.
Is that why you're looking at me? Probably.
So the point I'm making
Good with
is,
me.
we know how to get you from self-employed to business owner. Yes, that's a dream, and yes, that's a dream far into the future for most agents. You shouldn't even be sniffing it just now, but understand, even from day one, you can be putting yourself on a plan to get there. We know what that plan is. That's what momentum helps you accomplish. But you gotta go step by step, and you gotta do the right things, and you gotta set up the foundations. Otherwise, you're not gonna get there. And see, now that's the problem, because if Laura, not to keep using her as an example, but if Laura took a 6-month vacation, she also probably wouldn't have a business to come back to. Or at least people,
take more than a 4-day vacation.
or at least people would be like, what the hell happened to Laura, right? Well, if she had set it up and had a foundation, and it's so hard for somebody who is this successful to go backwards and start setting up a foundation, because that means voluntarily not making money right now.
She's working on it. I mean, she's had
It could be done.
process.
It could be
but
done.
It's not easy because you can't get the good, help. That's
Who knows who Tim Singer is?
I do.
or Lori Reeder.
Yeah, right,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Lori Reeder can take a 6-month vacation.
Lori Reeder won the lottery, $1 million with her
She
team.
did. I used that as examples in other
Oh,
ways,
sorry.
but
That was amazing, but she's amazing too, like.
she has a system set up. Her agents do the work, right? You're never gonna meet Tim Singer when you go to his open house, or go to a showing of his. You're gonna meet one of his 6 people who work underneath him,
Exactly.
right? That took a long time though, and it's doable. Now we have maybe 10 people in all of Broward County, and really maybe all of Miami and Broward County that can do that. So it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But that's the ultimate goal, okay? And we want to get you on that path, okay? Because what it says on the bottom here is, what you want is unlimited life of abundance, which requires both time and money. So the goal is to live an unlimited life in a limited amount of time, which is what you have. So you need more passive income. And outside of investing in a super awesome stock that nobody's heard of, like if you had done Apple back in the 70s or 80s, you're not going to do that with investments, right? Now on the right side of the chart here, let's just go to the next page. The right side of the chart is all the stuff that you can have that has passive income involved. You can either be a business owner or an investor, right? They've got passive income. On the left side, right? Employees work for others. You don't make that much money and you spend a boatload of your time doing it. We don't want that, right?
Yep.
Now there are people who do want that though, right? You ever heard of working for the weekend? Never heard that saying? I think there's a song.
Oh, yeah, yes, okay.
Suzanne, you gonna sing it for us? Because I'm not doing that.
I'm a horrible singer. My husband can sing.
But the point of that is these people put their head down, they turn their brain off at work, and they do that 9 to 5 every day because that gives them money so that they can enjoy the rest of their life, and they're perfectly happy doing that. But other people want more out of their life, and those are the people who start a business, right? But when you just start a business, you're self-employed because you're working for you, and you're developing you, and you should be developing systems because that's how you can get from one level to the next. But you're also going to be required to be there, right? So you may make a lot of money, but you're also going to spend a lot of time.
Would you still consider someone that's a team member, let's say a buyer's agent within a larger team, an employee or self-employed?
They would be your employee. Yeah. I'm nobody's boss. You're their boss when you start a team.
Okay.
And that's the way you should look at it. Okay, you create systems, and the reason we have systems is because look what's the difference between self-employed and business owner. Finding and developing others. And you can't develop others if you haven't figured out how to develop yourself. Right? One concept we're going to teach in a class on Monday, which is called the Leverage Summit, and I'm teaching it for that gentleman sitting right out there because he keeps begging me. That class is for people who are ready to start thinking about building a team, whether it's hiring an assistant, to getting a buyer's agent, to even more. And the main concept there is you cannot hire somebody to cure your inefficiency. You are simply hiring a double inefficiency.
Yeah.
Even if they're super organized and you're not an organized person, if you don't know what the hell you're doing, they're not going to know what they're doing. They're not going to be able to organize your chaos unless you have it in a system. Okay? And that's kind of the stuff we're going to be talking about. So do we understand the point of this page? And you see the line here? That's how you get from self-employed to business owner. Is you start putting together systems, you set a foundation for your business, and then you start finding and developing others so that you can leverage yourself out, right? Okay. Another think page, read, underline, share page. Go ahead and read this. It's a lot shorter. I'll give you about a minute to read this. This is all about beliefs. It's the last one of these.
My mother should be taking this class.
That's the funny thing is, and I don't know why that's funny to you, but it's funny because anybody can take this class. It's not really even real estate or business related, it's life related. Are we good with this? Okay, so the first thing at the top, it says you can transcend any situation. And so, to me, what that means is we can succeed through anything, right? We know that humans have done that, right? In the hardest of situations, that's when the cream rises to the top, doesn't it? And so how does that happen? You think that can happen if all you think about all day long is that you're going to fail? Right? Of course not. So this is all about beliefs. Okay, so Marco, let's start with you this time. What's one thing, you underlined something as you were talking about your mother, so you want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, I really could have underlined the entire page.
Okay.
But there's two reasons. Observe people who are chronically bored or depressed, and you invariably find that they dwell on negative thoughts. That's self-explanatory, and I think that's right on the money. The other part is most people don't progress because they place limits on themselves, which usually show up in the form of excuses as to why they can't. And this reminds me of when I've been to the last two conventions in Vegas for RE/MAX, and I met Marty Hampton, who's I think number 3 system-wide in the world. And meeting someone like that and realizing how she runs her business and what she's able to do within her business just like blew my mind, because I always thought, wow, there's actually people that make close to $1 million or even $1 million in this business. That's unbelievable. Oh, but that's the most you can make.
But Marco, you didn't get it though. She has 62 hours every day. She's special.
62 hours?
Yeah, she has 62 hours in each one of her days.
Well, because she's got people...
Doesn't she? No, she doesn't. She's got 20, but that's the point I'm making,
Yeah.
right? She has the same amount of time that you do, that everybody else does, right? So what I'm telling a joke out of the point you're making, which is that you have the same time as she does, right? So it's amazing what she can accomplish with that time.
And where she can make $5-6 million a year, most people struggle to make $100,000. And
I think most people struggle to make their first deal. Most good agents struggle to make $100,000.
That's it, amen.
Perfect. And then the first thing you said, see, and I try to use this example every time, but as we go, and this means I'm getting old, I guess, but people don't get the reference. Who watches Saturday Night Live? Does anybody watch Saturday Night Live?
Not anymore.
No.
Not anymore? Not anymore is okay if you watched it
Oh,
a
yeah.
long time
I
ago.
watched it a long time
So
ago.
there are 2 skits that they had recurring a long time ago on Saturday Night Live that speak to this absolutely perfectly. And obviously they're jokes,
Yeah.
but jokes are based out of reality, aren't they? So who remembers, one is Debbie Downer,
Oh, I love that, yes.
and the other one is Stuart Smalley.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Do you remember Stuart Smalley?
Barely.
He sat in front of a mirror and he
And
said,
then
you're good enough,
Yeah.
you're smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like you.
And then he'd break down. It was
Right?
so funny.
It was called Daily Affirmations, and it's the joke.
That's right.
That
And
is
people
so
would look
funny.
at it like, what a ridiculous, and it's a joke. But you know what? It's not a joke. It is absolutely what people recommend to do. You read some of those books out there, recommend to do is have daily affirmations. Tell yourself every day how good you are. Tell yourself how you're going to succeed, right? Because positive thoughts create positive outcomes, right? So it was a joke. Now, Debbie Downer was the opposite end of the spectrum. You talked about the negative people, right? You want to get yourself out of that situation. So Debbie Downer, all she would talk about is negativity and the bad things going on in the world. And everybody at the table just wanted to kill themselves by the end of the skit.
So funny.
So who do you want to hang around with, Stuart, or do you want to hang around with Debbie?
Yeah.
Exactly. So you surround yourself with the right people, but more importantly, surrounding yourself is you have to be that person, okay? Because you can't look at them or blame them. It's you. Remember from that other page? Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is all about our beliefs. Because our beliefs will shape our actions, okay? If you have a very strong belief system, it's going to shape the way that you do things, okay? And you can think about that in many different situations. For example, and again, I'll use politics, but we're certainly not going to get into one side or the other. But when you're standing in that voter booth, okay, why do you pick one or the other? It's because you have a belief, don't you? Now, is your belief the same as her belief necessarily?
Not necessarily.
So could they both be right?
Of course.
No, they can't both be right. Somebody's got to be right, somebody's got to be wrong, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Because to you, you're right, and to you, you're right.
Yeah.
And that's okay, we can all get along and live this world that way. But your belief makes you put Republican, and your belief makes you put Democrat, and that's how that happens. Let's use a very simple example. How about what color do you want to paint your wall? Okay? Now if you only, let's say, okay, see this example goes awry when people are like, but I don't think the wall looks good with that wall over there or with the flooring I chose. Let's be very, very basic here. You have two choices. You can either paint it red or you can paint it blue. Right? Out of those, what's your favorite color?
Well, that depends on the situation, but let's say blue.
Okay, so if there was no situation that it would look bad in the house, which color would you choose?
Blue.
Exactly. Right? But Suzanne likes red and she's going to paint her wall red. Right? Now, if you had no idea what your favorite color was, does it make that choice a little harder?
Sure.
Of course it does. That's my point. It helps shape your choices. Right? You don't even realize it half the time. But when you have a conviction about something, you're just going to operate that way. If you didn't have that conviction, you would be a little less certain about how you were going to operate, right? So what we're trying to shape is, we're trying to shape those beliefs. Now we're going to give you beliefs that have to be for it to be successful in real estate, but there's other beliefs, and we call them limiting beliefs that you all have inside yourself, and that's what that's what this page is talking about. So what I'm going to ask you to do is write 5 limited beliefs that you think you possess. Now, I will give you an example of a limited belief, okay? I have a limited belief. We all have limited beliefs. Limited beliefs don't have to ruin our life. Limited beliefs can be so small that they really don't bother anything, but they can be so big that they can be crippling. So I'll give you an example of a very small one that I possess. I don't think I'm a very good dancer. And it's not really a thought. It can be backed up with proof. So it might not just be a belief, it could be a reality. But that's not the point.
As we'll find out at the Christmas party.
But that's not the point. The point is, if I go to a wedding where everybody's drinking, first of all, and having a good time, and I'm sitting in my chair like this, watching, right? How much fun am I having?
0.
No fun, right? Now, if I got up and I danced because I promise you nobody really cares whether I'm good or I'm not, wouldn't I have a good time?
Sure.
But didn't my limiting beliefs stop me from having a good time?
Yeah.
Okay, so is that going to kill my life? No, I'll be happy when I go home, right? But at that wedding, I'm not maximizing my potential because I'm just sitting there being miserable because I believe I can't dance. So now I have options. I can change that belief 2 ways. 2 ways. I could either take dancing lessons, right? Which will do what? It will give me the confidence to know that I'm a little bit better at dancing, and then I'll want to go out on the dance floor. Or I could choose to not care and just get out there and enjoy myself. So that's what a limiting belief is. It's something that you believe that stops you from doing something that could be very good. So what I want you to do is, and again, these don't have to be real estate related, I just want to see that you get the concept, but they could be real estate related. What are 5, and you don't have to put 5, put a couple, that you think you possess? Do that really quickly.